start for Manchester United. The media haven't covered this. It's not been a great start for them. I think that's 12 goals in 3 games conceded. The fans turning of all people on Bowen last night. But I want to ask you a question, guys, and that is, I can't help but feel in this middle sector of clubs that you've got a situation where the likes of Graham Potter, who is the face of the club, he's the one in front of the fans, is almost being thrown to the wolves. They've not invested. They sold kudos to Tottenham. The analogy I made earlier was he's been handed a water pistol, not a gun. He's not a bad manager, is he? He did very well at Brighton, Matt. I mean, what's going on? Do you feel for him? I mean, what's going on there at West Ham? And they obviously need reinforcements, but the suggestion is they can't get them.
Yeah, I actually do feel a bit sorry for him. He went from doing really well, and then went to Chelsea, and it was, I think it was a too big a step for him to go to Chelsea with too many. When the new owners come in and they're buying players left, right, and centre, and I think it was all too much, and there was no conformity or anything. All these big players coming in, and he was just a bit of fodder for the Lions, really. And then he's had a bit of time out. He's gone to West Ham. I like the guy. I think he's a good manager. But like you say, there's been no reinforcements for him. They've lost a couple of players. I think it's important that they've kept hold of Bowen. But at the end of the day,
you'd be questioning what you want to do next if you were Bowen. I'm not saying. I mean, he's obviously West Ham through and through, isn't he? But when you're not seeing any, it's a World Cup year. He's missed the last squad. He must be thinking, shit, I need to put in a show here. I mean, if someone came in for him, Rooney, would he go?
I don't know if he would go, because you say he's got a real tie with the club and the fans. And
Danny Dyer would kick his ass.
He links to the infamous Dyer family. So it will be a big wrench. But I think there'd be no shortage of people, if there's a suggestion he's unhappy off the back of what's happened in 3 games, trying maybe a speculative bid just before the window closes. But that would leave them in a world of hurt. I mean, both myself and Matt on session 1 of our season tipped West Ham to go down. I said it with a heavy heart because they're a good club, and I went to see them a lot when I first moved down to London. They're very good friends of mine. I know they're feeling the pain of the way it's going at the minute and for the last couple of years, aside from the most European success. But I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. Body language looked off. The crowd connection at the stadium's always weaker than the bowling ground, where you have people breathing down your neck. So I think already 3 lost games into the season, 2 league, 1 cup. It's going to be a hell of a long season for them.
Yeah. And I think, negativity must be filtering down. Because I don't know. Does anyone know what that West Ham fan? I mean, if you're going to say it to anyone, Bowen is not the guy to have brought it up with, is he? But do you know what was said? Anyone know what was said, or it was just your shit or something? Something to that effect.
I have no idea. All I know is I've seen something that that actual supporter has come out and said, "Well, at least he shows he gives a shit."
Right.
Basically,
fair enough. Well, listen, if you're playing for a club or you're managing, as in Potter is, I'm not sure top of the pick would for your bosses would have been Golden and Karen Brady. Listen, they'll sit there and say it's difficult to sign anyone, and I was going to present an argument to you guys, which was you just got to think a little bit outside the box, haven't you? You just look at Brighton, look at Brentford, look at Villa, where they've got a kind of data-driven recruitment, particularly Brentford on that front. The South American markets, young players that are on the cusp and coming through. Rodgers, Duran, Ivan Toney, 2-3 are great examples of that. But there is this thing, Rooney, where if you're a football club owner, do you want to splash 40+ million on a player that's unproven, and not know where that's going to go. I mean, but you got to, right? Otherwise, you're going to just drop down the table, and then you're a risk of going down. Or do they just then think, well, if I go down, I get 100 mil?
I think it's a big ask for anybody other than the top 6 really to be investing 40 on a regular basis on a player where there's a doubt. But I do think that model they're running maybe slightly different because the personalities involved. But it's the modern day view, isn't it? The manager doesn't drive recruitment. The manager's a seat at the table around the recruitment committee. So they'll have an opinion, but it won't be a drop dead decision like it used to be. But I think if you look at it, it's hard to imagine that Potter has wanted what he's got, either in terms of sales out and next to nothing in. It doesn't feel like he would have chosen that. And I think if he's looking at it retrospectively now, I think he should have gotten the England job rather than Tuchel, because they're both bad fits where they are at the minute. Him at West Ham through perhaps not his own fault, and Tuchel just because that's never going to work with England. But that's one for another day.
There's another side, and I think it happened to him at Chelsea, where he got quite a lucrative contract. At Potter, this is, he's going to these. If you're not in the top 4, and we've talked about, and we'll delve a little bit deeper into this with Newcastle and the likes of the Tottenham. Which this shirt is bothering me slightly. It's looking a little bit too Tottenham for me, but and that is that they're paying these managers a lot of money. He's millions of pounds. He's on a 3 or 4 year contract. They're not giving. I don't understand it. It's like getting someone to come and build a house for you, or buying a Michelin chef and giving him little food. I mean, how? I feel like they're throwing away money. Either they get behind it or they don't get behind it, Matt. I mean. At the moment, he's as to use the phrase, you're just feeding him to the lions, because he's got to be favourite to lose his job.
You think so, yeah? If things continue the way they are, but it's also a case that these managers sign these contracts and they know if they don't do well, through no fault of their own, because the board aren't recruiting well and they're selling players. They know 6 months, a year down the line, they're not doing well. They're going to get the sack and get a big payout. So, I mean, it's a win-win for managers, really. And it seems sometimes the history has shown sometimes you get the sack, but
say that, Matt.
But reputation doesn't, because they still get big jobs.
Well, you're saying that, Matt. But look at Lampard. Yeah, goes to Chelsea first time, second time, I think it was just a bridging thing. He went to Villa, didn't he? Didn't do well, and seems to be able to tear.
Villa.
Oh, sorry, where did he go after that?
Derby.
He went somewhere else. Was it Derby?
Derby
anyway,
before that, I can't remember.
Anyway, the point I'm really making is then he goes into the Championship, which he did very well at Derby. I think that was before Chelsea, and he's 7-0 at the weekend with Coventry. So is it? It's not like footballers, is it? It's not like you're good enough to play in the Prem, but you're not good enough playing. If you're a manager, is it that cut and dry, Rooney? Where you can do it in the Championship and not do it in the Prem? And sorry, just to the other point is that you're saying there's a job around the corner. There are players that if you get it madly wrong, you're not going to get a job again. The Pardew's of this world won't get a job again. He's not that old. No. You get it wrong. You get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean.
And what's Moisey? What's Moisey thinking now?
Well,
I mean, he must be just relieved to be out of there.
Yeah, probably, but that probably says it's the club rather than the manager or the sitting manager at the time, because whilst he'd taken them to the glorious heights of, Conference League kind of European activity.
European champions, mate.
Yeah. Well, it was never going to be.
They know what they are.
Yeah, statistically highly unlikely ever to be repeated, and therefore you reach your peak, and it's all down from there. But unfortunately, when that happens, the fan base also expect more, and that's unrealistic. And the belief was he wasn't the fit to give them more. But
because he didn't play. He didn't play the West Ham way, did he?
No. But then he's Potter. I don't think he's playing inverted commas the West Ham way. I mean, we had this chat in the pub. That was, the teams through the 90s, the Carricks, the Lampards, the Paolo Di Cagnos, the wild kind of expansive, fast-flowing football out to the wings, crosses, spectacular goals. That was what they were known for at the Bowling Ground. That was their DNA, their identity. It wasn't questioned. And I think just since the move, really, they've never rediscovered that identity, that true identity.
They've always had a talisman. I always think, whether it was Julian Dix or, Billy Bonds or, Bobby Moore go back, or what's his name? Crazy Italian centre forward. They've always had a talisman. They don't seem to have that was always their thing. Grealish would have been good there, actually. We'll get onto that in a minute. But, they don't seem, you don't look at that team now, do you? And think that they're serious. The Olympic Stadium?
You've got two.
Is that half the problem?
I think it is a big bit, mate. But you had Kudus, who could have become that player. You've got Paqueta, who's kind of floated around being that player, but nobody has that.
But they're talking about selling him to Spurs.
I mean, I can only think there'd be a riot.
There would be, wouldn't there?
Kudus has gone.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and you got to feel. I haven't got many West Ham fans, but you got to feel for them. I think you boys are right. It's only going one way at the moment. But if you sack Potter, who on earth do you put? Who do you attract? Who do you put in?
Well, you've got to assume he wouldn't go until after the window. So you've got a shut window. You can't change it. You've got morale through the floor. You've got an angry crowd base. I think. They could be doomed. Never mind who you could get in. And to the point that Matt made earlier, and he's right, I guess for some managers, the risk-reward play of taking it on and being successful or taking it on as failing, they can look at the failure and go, well, what's the worst that happens? They get a multi-million-pound payout,
yeah.
And I might have 6 months off.
Yeah.
Which is unlike any other industry.
They're basically just living your life, Rooney. You just get a payoff and then just have 6 months playing paddle and, going to Glastonbury and just living the life of Riley. Beating the paddle lessons.
If only life treated me that well, Matt. That's all I'll say.
Total and utter disregard for Manchester United. The media haven't covered this.